The massive crystal spires of Nexus Prime stretched toward the artificial sky, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 different suns. Inside the Grand Council chambers, Ambassador Jimin Park adjusted her simple gray uniform and tried to look appropriately intimidated. Around her, the most powerful beings in the galaxy discussed humanity's fate as if they were trading livestock. The Vorthok Chancellor stood nearly 3 meters tall, his scales shifting from deep green to angry red as he spoke. His clawed hands gestured dismissively toward the human delegation while his reptilian eyes never left Jimin's face. Behind him, 24 Vorthok warriors stood at attention, their plasma weapons gleaming under the chamber's lights. 30 years we have tolerated this insignificant species, the Chancellor's voice echoed through the vast hall. 30 years of watching these mammals stumble through space with their crude metal ships and primitive weapons. Time for patience has ended. To his left, the Ethereal Collective's representative floated in a shimmering energy field. The crystalline being's thoughts manifested as mathematical equations that danced in the air around its translucent form. The calculations are complete, it announced in a voice like breaking glass. Human colonies produce 0.3% of galactic output. Their military contributes 0.1% of defensive capability. Economic integration suggests optimal resource allocation through direct control. Jimin kept her expression carefully blank while inside. She felt a familiar anger building. These creatures had been underestimating humanity since first contact, and every meeting reinforced their arrogance. The Zephyrian representative, a being of pure energy contained within a mechanical shell, pulsed with colors that indicated amusement. Perhaps we should simply absorb their territories entirely, the Zephyrian suggested. Their resistance would be minimal. Our preliminary scans show fewer than 200 active warships across all human space. Most appear to be converted cargo vessels. The Chancellor's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. The human colonies in Sector 7 contain substantial mineral deposits. We propose immediate transfer of mining rights to the hegemony. In exchange, we will provide continued protection from the Void Hunters. Jimin stood slowly, her movements deliberate and non-threatening. She had practiced this performance countless times, each gesture calculated to reinforce the image of a weak species desperately seeking approval from their betters. Honored Chancellor, humanity appreciates the Council's generous protection. However, the colonies you mentioned house over 50 million civilians. Surely some accommodation could be reached? The Vorthok Chancellor's laugh was like grinding stone. Accommodation? You speak as though you have something to offer in return? Your species has contributed nothing to galactic civilization except resources to be harvested and space to be claimed by worthier races. Behind the Chancellor, the other council members nodded in agreement. The insectoid Swarm Queen's compound eyes glittered with hunger as she calculated how many human worlds could sustain her growing hive colonies. The mechanical consensus flickered through probability matrices, determining the most efficient methods for human subjugation, far beneath Earth's surface. Director Han Woo Kim watched the proceedings through quantum-encrypted feeds, while surrounded by technology that would have shocked the assembled aliens. The command center stretched 4 kilometers underground, its walls lined with displays, showing the true disposition of human forces throughout the galaxy. Sir, the Vorthok are moving their fleet into position around our outer colonies, reported Colonel So-Young Lee from her station. Her fingers danced across holographic controls that monitored hundreds of stealth platforms hidden throughout human space. 16 dreadnoughts, 47 cruisers, and support vessels. They're preparing for immediate occupation. Hyan-Woo nodded grimly. And our response status? 8. Battle Group Serenity is maintaining position in the asteroid field near New Geneva. Battle Group Harmony is cloaked behind Kepler-4 for 2B's moon. All stealth frigates are deployed and ready. The new dimensional fold generators are online and fully charged. Around them, hundreds of technicians monitored systems that officially did not exist. The quantum entanglement communicators allowed instantaneous contact with every human world, regardless of distance. The exotic matter fabricators, could produce ammunition and supplies faster than any enemy could destroy them. Most importantly, the AI tactical networks could coordinate responses across light years with perfect precision. How long until the Chancellor demands an answer? Yan Wu asked. Ambassador Park has requested a 3-day recess to consult with Earth Command, So Young replied. Standard diplomatic protocol. It gives us time to position our remaining assets. The council chambers, Jamin faced the growing impatience of the assembled aliens. The Chancellor's scales had shifted to a deeper red, indicating rising aggression. The Ethereal's mathematical projections now included casualty estimates for human resistance. 3 days seems excessive for such a simple decision, the Chancellor growled. You will surrender the mining rights, or we will take them by force. Your pathetic fleet cannot stand against even a single hegemony battle group. Deeper, her voice carrying just the right note of desperation. Please, honored beings. Humanity needs time to evacuate civilians from the affected worlds. We ask only for mercy during the transition period. The Swarm Queen's mandibles clicked with amusement. Mercy is inefficient. The human biomass can be processed into useful forms. Nothing need be wasted. Enough, the Chancellor declared. 3 days. At the end of that period, hegemony forces will begin liberation of human territories. Any resistance will be met with total destruction. As the session ended, Jimin gathered her simple briefcase and prepared to leave. To the watching aliens, she appeared defeated and desperate. They saw exactly what they expected to see, a representative of a weak species about to be consumed by superior predators. But as she walked through the crystal corridors toward her transport, Jimin allowed herself a small smile. In 72 hours, the galaxy would learn what humanity had been building while pretending to be helpless prey. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to end, at age of human submission. The masquerade had served its purpose. Now it was time for the galaxy to meet the real human race. The first warning came at 0347 hours, ship time. Captain Minho Kong was reviewing supply manifests in his quarters aboard the cargo vessel. Peaceful dawn when the emergency beacon activated. The shrill alarm cut through the quiet hum of the life support systems, and within seconds, his communication panel blazed with incoming transmissions. All vessels, this is New Geneva Control. The voice belonged to Commander Sarah Kim, the orbital station's duty officer. Her usual calm professionalism was replaced by barely controlled panic. We have multiple contacts approaching the system. Zephyrian, energy signatures confirmed. This is not a drill. Minho's blood turned cold. New Geneva was supposed to be a peaceful agricultural colony, home to 3.2 million civilians who had never seen military action. The planet's only defenses were 2 obsolete orbital platforms and a handful of patrol boats that couldn't stand against a single Zephyrian frigate, let alone the fleet now approaching. He rushed to the bridge where Lieutenant Yujin Song was. Already at her station, her fingers flying across the sensor controls. The main display showed 17 red dots moving toward the planet with deadly purpose. At their head was the massive energy signature of a Zephyrian battle fortress, a construct of living energy and exotic matter that could crack a planet's crust with a single focused beam. Sir, the Zephyrian commander is broadcasting on all frequencies, Yujin reported, her voice tight with barely suppressed fear. They're demanding immediate surrender of all colonial assets. Governor Lee has 30 minutes to respond. Through the viewports, Minho could see the distant flashes of energy as the Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Each ship was a masterpiece of deadly beauty, their energy forms shifting through colors that had no names in human language. The largest vessel pulsed with contained starfire, its very presence warping space around it. Admiral Taeho Choi watched the same scene unfold from his hidden command bunker on Earth. The secure facility was buried 3 kilometers beneath the Himalayan mountains, its existence known only to a handful of the highest-ranking military officials. Around him, dozens of operators monitored the crisis through quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens couldn't detect or intercept. Sir, Governor, Lee is attempting to negotiate, reported Major Geneseo Park from the communications station. He's offering to discuss terms for a peaceful withdrawal of human settlers. Tejo's jaw tightened as he watched the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet had arranged itself in a perfect bombardment formation, their weapons already charging for a planetary assault. This wasn't a negotiation. It was an execution waiting for an excuse. "The governor has good intentions," Tejo said quietly, "but these creatures didn't come here to talk." The response came exactly 28 minutes later. The Zephyrian commander's transmission was broadcast on all galactic frequencies, ensuring every species in known space would witness what happened to those who defied the established order. "People of New Geneva," the alien's voice resonated with the power of contained stellar energy. "Your species has been judged inadequate for independent existence. Your resistance to rightful authority ends now." The first energy beam struck the northern continent with the force of a small star. In seconds, the thriving cities of New Geneva Prime were reduced to molten glass and radioactive ash. The second beam targeted the agricultural centers, turning vast fields of grain into burning wastelands. Children who had been playing in schoolyards moments before simply ceased to exist as the very air around them burst into plasma. Minho watched helplessly as orbital platforms exploded under concentrated fire. The debris field spread like deadly flowers, each piece a fragment of someone's home, someone's life. Emergency shuttles launched frantically from the planet's surface, carrying whoever they could save, but most never made it past the atmosphere before Zephyrian interceptors turned them into brief sparks of light. Sir Yujan's voice broke as she read the casualty reports streaming in from emergency beacons. "The primary evacuation centers in New Seoul have been hit. No survivors detected. The orbital hospital at Lagrange Point 2 is gone. The children's ward was full when they struck. The bombardment continued for 6 hours. When it finally ended, New Geneva was a dead world, its oceans boiling and its atmosphere poisoned with radiation. 3.2 million people had become a footnote in galactic history, their crime being born to a species that others considered inferior. The Galactic Council's response arrived within hours, transmitted on official diplomatic channels too. Every member species. Ambassador Jimin Park read the statement from her quarters on Nexus Prime, her hands shaking with suppressed rage. "The Galactic Council expresses regret at the unfortunate necessity of the Zephyrian Empire's disciplinary action against the human colony of New Geneva. While civilian casualties are always tragic, the maintenance of galactic order sometimes requires difficult decisions. We trust this incident will serve as an educational example for other developing species regarding the importance of compliance with Council directives, no condemnation, no calls for justice, no demands for reparations. The systematic murder of over 3 million innocent people was dismissed as an educational example." In his bunker on Earth, Admiral Tejo Choi received the transmission he had been dreading and hoping for simultaneously. President Dong Hae-on-yoon's face appeared on the secure channel, his expression carved from stone but his eyes burning with cold fury. "Admiral, you have authorization for Operation Revelation," the president said quietly. 30 years of hiding ends today. Show the galaxy who humanity really is." The orders went out simultaneously to every hidden facility, every concealed weapon platform, every sleeper ship drifting in dark space between the stars. Deep beneath Luna's surface, Admiral Sujin Lee activated the quantum communicators that would coordinate the largest military deception in galactic history. On Mars, General Biram Kim authorized the deployment of battle fleets that had been hidden in dimensional storage for decades. Captain Min Ho Kong felt his ship shudder as systems that weren't supposed to exist came online. The Peaceful Dawn had appeared to be a simple cargo hauler, but now weapon ports opened along her hull like deadly flowers. Her true identity as the Destroyer Soul's vengeance was finally revealed. "All stations report ready," Eugen announced, her earlier fear replaced by grim determination. "Dimensional fold generators are charging. Fleet units Alpha through Omega are deploying from concealment." Across human space, the transformation was beginning. Galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their ability to make others believe they were something they were not. the masquerade was over. The real war was about to begin. The transformation began at exactly 1200 hours, coordinated across every human settlement in the galaxy. Captain Yoonji Lim stood on the bridge of what everyone believed was the merchant vessel Gentle Trader, watching as her crew executed procedures they had practiced in secret for 15 years. Initiating Phase 1 protocols, announced Lieutenant J1 Park from his position at what appeared to be a simple cargo manifest station. His fingers moved across hidden controls, and suddenly the ship's entire outer hull began to shift and reshape itself. Metal plates that had disguised weapon emplacements slid away with mechanical precision. Particle cannons emerged from concealed bays, their focusing crystals already glowing with deadly energy. The ship's sensor array unfolded like a metallic flower, revealing detection equipment that could track targets across 3 star systems. All weapon systems online, reported Ensign Dayun Cho from the tactical station. Dimensional storage chambers are opening. Admiral Kim's battle group is deploying from fold space. Through the viewports, Yoonji watched as space itself seemed to tear open around her ship. Massive vessels materialized from hidden dimensions where they had waited for decades. The heavy cruiser Inchin's Pride emerged first, her hull bristling with weapons that no alien species had ever seen. Behind her came the carrier Bizon's Wings, launching squadrons of fighters that moved with impossible speed and agility. Similar scenes were playing out across human space. The mining operation on Kepler 44 to be suddenly revealed itself as a massive fortress complex. Asteroid processing stations deployed planetary defense grids that could stop battle fleets. Research facilities on the edge of known space transformed into forward. Military bases equipped with technology that seemed like magic to anyone watching. The Vorthok strike force, approaching the Kepler colonies, expected to face a handful of obsolete patrol boats and perhaps some converted civilian craft. Instead, they found themselves confronting Admiral Seung-min, Choi's Third Fleet in full battle formation. "This is impossible," transmitted the Vorthok fleet commander, his voice crackling. With disbelief over the communication channels, "Our intelligence reports showed fewer than 20 human military vessels in this entire sector." Admiral Seung-min sat calmly in his command chair aboard the battleship Gwangju's Thunder, watching as 57 ships of the line arranged themselves in perfect attack formation around the alien fleet. Each vessel was a masterpiece of human engineering, incorporating technologies that had been developed in absolute secrecy while the galaxy dismissed humanity as primitive. Commander Seung-min replied with deadly politeness, "Your intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to believe." The Vorthok ships began moving into defensive positions, but they were already trapped. Commander Hanul Kim's destroyer squadron had used quantum tunnel drives to position themselves behind the alien formation. The Soul's Fury and her sister ships materialized from folded space, with their weapons already locked onto target. "Surrender." Immediately, Hanul broadcast to the Vorthok fleet, "You're completely surrounded and outgunned. Your shields cannot protect you from what we're about to unleash." The alien commander's response was predictable. "You dare threaten the hegemony. Your pathetic technology cannot challenge our superior vessels. All ships, open fire." The Vorthok dreadnought scaled. Justice unleashed a barrage of plasma bolts that could have destroyed a small moon. The energy beams struck the human formation and simply passed through the ships as if they weren't there. "Phase shift generators. Holding," reported Lieutenant Minjun Song from the Soul's Fury. "Enemy weapons are firing at our dimensional echoes. They're hitting shadows." Hanul smiled coldly as she watched the alien confusion grow. "Target their main reactor. Fire phasing torpedoes." The weapons that emerged from human launchers defied everything the galaxy thought it knew about physics. The torpedoes existed, in a state of quantum uncertainty, passing through solid matter until they reached their programmed targets. When they materialized inside the Vorthok ships, the explosions came from within, bypassing every defense the aliens possessed. "Impossible," screamed the Vorthok commander, as his flagship's hull began buckling from internal detonations. "No species possesses technology to phase matter through our shields." "You're learning today," Hanul replied, as she ordered the next salvo. "Every diplomatic meeting, every trade negotiation, every time you dismissed us as primitives, We were studying you, learning your weaknesses, preparing for this moment. The gravity well generators activated next, warping space itself around the alien fleet. The Vorthok ships found themselves trapped in artificial gravity fields that made escape impossible. Their engines strained against forces that held them as firmly as flies in amber. On Earth, Admiral Taeho Choi watched the engagement through real-time quantum feeds. The underground command center buzzed with activity as reports flooded in from across human space. Every alien force that had moved to claim human territory was finding itself facing opposition they had never imagined possible. Sir, the Ethereal Collective's crystal ships are encountering our gravity beam weapons, reported Colonel So-Young Lee. Their crystalline matrix structure is shattering under focused gravitational stress. Captain Wan-Young Park's squadron has destroyed 6 ethereal vessels with 0 casualties. The Zephyrian energy beings are having similar problems, added Major Junho Kim. Our exotic matter containment fields are disrupting their energy forms. They can't maintain cohesion when exposed to our null space generators. Taeho nodded grimly. 30 years of careful preparation were finally paying off. While the galaxy had dismissed humanity as a minor species, human scientists had been working around the clock to develop countermeasures for every known alien technology. Every weakness had been cataloged, every vulnerability mapped and exploited. Back in the Kepler system, the Vorthok fleet was disintegrating under the human assault. The destroyer Sol's Fury had positioned itself directly above the alien flagship, her main guns charging with energy that made space itself ripple. Last chance, Hanel transmitted to the surviving Vorthok ships, surrender now or be destroyed. Alien Commander's final transmission was filled with bitter understanding. You planned this. All of it. The weakness, the submissions, the apparent helplessness. It was all deception, as Hanel confirmed as her weapons locked onto the remaining targets. And this is only the beginning. The human ships moved with coordinated precision that no organic crew could achieve. Their IO-assisted targeting systems predicted enemy movements before they happened. Their quantum communicators allowed instant coordination across impossible distances. Most terrifying of all, their weapons operated on principles that the galaxy's greatest scientific minds had declared impossible. The age of alien dominance was ending, and humanity was just getting started. The emergency alarm echoed through the crystal halls of Nexus Prime at 0300 station time. Counselor Vexara of the Ethereal Collective materialized in the council chambers, her crystalline form flickering with agitation as urgent reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The mathematical patterns that normally danced around her body were chaotic, reflecting her growing panic. Impossible readings confirmed, she announced as other council members hurried into the chamber. 7th Fleet completely destroyed. Fleet retreating with 60% casualties. The humans possess technology that violates known physics. The Vorthok Chancellor slammed his clawed fist against the conference table, leaving deep gouges in the metal surface. His scales had shifted to the deepest red, indicating rage and fear in equal measure. 17 of our finest battle groups have been eliminated in the past 6 hours. Ships that have conquered entire star systems are being torn apart by vessels we thought were cargo haulers. General Insuyu stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Dagu's Hammer, watching as the last ethereal crystal ship cracked apart under focused graviton bombardment. The alien vessel, which had been considered invulnerable for over 2,000 years, shattered like glass under the exotic physics weapons that humanity had spent decades perfecting. Target destroyed, reported Commander Thegin Park from the DHN Park from the weapons console. That's the entire ethereal 7th Fleet eliminated. No human casualties reported. Insu nodded grimly as he studied the tactical display. The ethereal ships had been beautiful to watch, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight into rainbow patterns as they moved. Now they were nothing more than glittering debris floating in the void, their crews dead before they understood what had killed them. Yes, sir. Incoming transmission from the Ethereal Prime, announced Lieutenant Hyansu Kim. She's requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. Put her through, Su ordered. The holographic image of the Ethereal Prime appeared above the conference table. her crystalline features twisted with something that might have been fear. "General Yu, your weapons are impossible. Our shields are rated to withstand stellar collapse. Our hulls are grown from living crystal that regenerates damage. How are you destroying us so easily?" Insu's expression remained cold and professional. "Your technology has one fatal weakness: Prime. It follows predictable patterns. Your shields operate on harmonic frequencies that can be disrupted. Your regenerative crystals require specific energy wavelengths to function. We've had 30 years to study every aspect of your civilization." Back on Nexus Prime, the emergency session had devolved into barely controlled chaos. The insectoid swarm queen's compound eyes reflected terror as she received reports of human fleets appearing from dimensional storage throughout her territory. The mechanical consensus flickered through probability calculations, each one showing lower chances of survival. "The humans have been deceiving us from the beginning," announced Chancellor Mordok of the Trade Federation.
But every interaction,
Every negotiation, every moment of apparent weakness was calculated to make us underestimate them. Colonel Sujan Kim materialized in the council chamber via holographic projection. Her image transmitted from a secure facility that the aliens couldn't locate her target. She stood calmly in her simple uniform while around her, the most powerful beings in the galaxy struggled to comprehend their situation. "Honored council members," she began with mock politeness. "You seem surprised by recent events?
perhaps we
Should explain what you've been missing for the past 3 decades." The projection expanded to show detailed schematics of alien technology, each one marked with vulnerabilities that human scientists had discovered and exploited. Vorthok plasma weapons, ethereal crystal matrices, Zephyrian energy forms. Every major military technology in the galaxy had been completely analyzed and countered. "Every time your diplomats visited our worlds, our scientists were scanning their equipment," Sujin continued. "Every trade negotiation included hidden sensors recording your ship specifications. Every cultural exchange was an intelligence-gathering operation designed to map your weaknesses. Admiral Ji Hunanam's fleet intercepted the retreating hegemony forces near the Proxima system. The alien ships had been fleeing in complete disorder after losing 3 entire battle groups to human phase shift attacks. Now they found themselves facing the massive guns of the battleship Soul's Vengeance and her escort fleet. Hegemony vessels, this is Admiral Nam. He broadcast on all frequencies, are surrounded and outgunned. Surrender immediately. Your crews will be treated according to galactic conventions." The Hegemony Fleet Admiral's response crackled with desperation. "You cannot defeat the combined might of our armadas. We have ruled this galaxy for 5,000 years. Your 5,000 years of rule ended 6 hours ago," Jehun replied calmly. "You ruled through fear and superior technology. We've removed both advantages. The human ships moved with precision that seemed almost supernatural. Their AI-enhanced targeting systems locked onto multiple targets simultaneously while there. Quantum communicators coordinated attacks across impossible distances. When the Hegemony fleet attempted to use their traditional swarm tactics, the human vessels simply phased through their formations and struck from impossible angles. Captain B.O. Young Seo's stealth frigate squadron had been waiting in quantum shadows near the Zephyrian capital fleet. The alien energy beings had gathered their most powerful vessels to defend their core worlds, confident that their mastery over pure energy made them untouchable. They were wrong. "Exotic matter torpedoes armed and ready," reported Lieutenant Jung-ho. "Leave from the weapons station. Target locks confirmed on all enemy vessels." "Fire," Bo Young ordered. The torpedoes that emerged from human launchers were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They contained exotic matter that existed in a state of controlled annihilation, releasing energy that could disrupt even beings of pure force. The Zephyrian ships, which had seemed like living stars moving through space, began to flicker and fade as their energy matrices collapsed. "Impossible," screamed the Zephyrian Fleet Admiral as his flagship began to lose cohesion. "We are beings of pure energy. Physical weapons cannot harm us." Admiral Wu Jinli's voice came through the communication channel with deadly calm. "These aren't physical weapons. They're designed specifically to disrupt energy-based life forms. We've been studying your species for 30 years, learning exactly how to kill you. The last Zephyrion ship winked out of existence like a dying candle flame. On Nexus Prime. The council sat in stunned silence as the reports continued to arrive. Every major fleet in the galaxy was either destroyed or in full retreat. Species that had ruled through superior technology and military might were being systematically dismantled by the primitives they had dismissed. The age of alien dominance was ending, and humanity was just beginning to show its true power. The assault on Nexus Prime began at dawn, station time. Admiral Kunjo Park stood in the command center of the UHSF Indomitable, watching as his fleet took positions around the galactic capital. The massive space station hung like a jeweled crown against the backdrop of 3 suns, its crystal spires reaching outward in all directions. "All units report ready," announced Captain Sumin Lee from her position at the tactical station. Teleportation coordinates locked onto the main council chamber. Kyung-ho studied the defensive formations. Surrounding Nexus Prime, dozens of alien warships patrolled the approaches, their weapons trained on empty space where they expected human forces to appear. They had no idea that humanity's most advanced vessel was about to materialize in the heart of their most secure facility. "Sir, the Council has activated their planetary shields," reported Lieutenant Wonbin Kim. "Energy output suggests they believe themselves completely protected." "They're about to learn otherwise," Kyun-ho replied calmly. "Initiate teleportation sequence." The technology that allowed an entire dreadnought to instantly appear inside a shielded facility had cost humanity 20 years of research and development. Scientists had worked in absolute secrecy, building upon captured alien technologies while developing completely new principles of physics. The result was a weapon that could bypass every known defense. Reality twisted around the Indomitable as space folded in ways that violated conventional understanding. For a moment that lasted eternity, the massive warship existed everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Then, with a sound like breaking crystal, the dreadnought materialized directly inside the Grand Council chamber. The alien delegations reacted with shock and terror as a kilometer long. Human battleships suddenly occupied the space above their heads. Emergency alarms wailed throughout the station while security forces scrambled to respond to an invasion that has already succeeded. "Distinguished council members," Admiral Park's voice echoed through the chamber's communication systems. "Please remain calm. We have not come here to destroy you, merely to correct some misunderstandings about humanity's place in galactic civilization." Vorthok Chancellor cowered behind his ceremonial throne, his scales shifting rapidly between colors that indicated absolute terror. The ethereal Prime's crystalline form flickered as she struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. Even the mechanical consensus seemed to stutter as its processors tried to calculate how the humans had achieved the impossible. Ambassador Jimin Park walked calmly through the chaos, no longer maintaining the submissive posture that had characterized her previous appearances. Her simple diplomatic uniform had been replaced by the formal dress of a human military officer, complete with insignia that marked her as a colonel in Earth's intelligence service. "For 30 years I have sat in this chamber and listened to your demands," she announced, her voice carrying clearly through the confusion. "I have nodded politely as you've divided human territory among yourselves. I have bowed respectfully as you threatened our colonies with destruction. That performance ends today." Above them, the Indomitable's weapon systems powered up with a low hum that seemed to vibrate through the station's structure. The massive ship's presence was a demonstration of power that needed no explanation. If humanity could place a dreadnought inside the galaxy's most secure facility, they could strike anywhere without warning. The massacre at New Geneva was the final insult, Jimin continued, walking slowly between the alien delegations. 3 million innocent civilians murdered to make a point about galactic order. Your response was to express regret at the necessity. Our response will be somewhat different. The main display screens around the chamber activated, showing real-time footage from across the galaxy. Human fleets were taking control of strategic systems that had been claimed by alien powers. Mining operations that had enriched council members for centuries were now under human authority. Trade routes that had funded alien expansion were being redirected to serve human interests. Impossible, whispered the Trade Federation's representative. Our intelligence showed you had fewer than 200 combat vessels in your entire fleet. Your intelligence showed you exactly what we wanted. You too see? Admiral Park's voice carried a note of cold satisfaction. Every ship you cataloged, every weapon you documented, every defensive installation you mapped was a carefully crafted deception. While you counted our decoys, we built a fleet that could challenge the combined might of the entire galaxy.
Captain.
Dayun Yun's patrol squadron materialized around the station, their sleek forms emerging from dimensional storage like sharks from dark water. Each vessel was equipped with weapons that could crack Nexus Prime's shields and sensors that could track every movement throughout the system. Sir, all alien fleets have withdrawn to minimum safe distance, reported Commander Minjin Song from the destroyer Bazan's Pride. They're maintaining defensive formations but showing no signs of aggressive intent. The transformation was remarkable to witness. In the space of 6 hours, the galaxy's power structure had completely reversed. Species that had ruled for millennia found themselves facing a human military that seemed to have emerged from nowhere. Technology that made their greatest achievements look primitive. President Junho Kim's image appeared on every screen, throughout the galaxy, transmitted simultaneously to every inhabited world. His expression was calm, but his words carried the weight of absolute authority. Citizens of the galaxy, he began, today marks the end of an era. For too long, powerful species have treated smaller civilizations as resources to be exploited, or obstacles to be removed. The murder of 3 million human civilians at New Geneva represents the final act of this barbaric system. The Keepers of the Outer Rim were the first to respond. Their ancient representative, a being so old that its species had forgotten its original form, spoke in a voice like distant wind chimes. The Keepers offer alliance to humanity, it announced. We have watched the cycles of dominance and submission for eons. Perhaps it is time for wisdom to replace force. Other species quickly followed. The peaceful architects offered their engineering expertise. The nomadic wanderers pledged their support for human exploration efforts. Even some former enemies began transmitting requests for negotiation rather than face the consequences of continued resistance. The terms are simple, Jimin announced, as orders slowly returned to the council chamber. Immediate reparations for New Geneva. Recognition of human sovereignty over all colonies and claimed territories. A permanent human seat on this council, with full voting rights and veto power over military actions. And if we refuse, asked the Vorthok Chancellor, though his voice lacked its former arrogance, then you will discover just how much we learned about your homeworlds during our decades of apparent weakness, Admiral Park replied. The choice is yours, but choose quickly. Our patience has limits. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, every species agreed on a single proposal. Humanity had demonstrated that the age of ruling through superior firepower was ending, placed by an era where intelligence and preparation mattered more than raw force. The small species from Sol 3 had become the galaxy's newest superpower, and they had done it by being exactly what their enemies never expected them to be.